Hey everybody, Joel at Hamina here, working from home today, and a question came in from a customer about modeling outdoor to indoor cellular coverage, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to make a video about it. So let's dive right in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to call this the University of Canberra. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's in Australia, and we'll hit save. And then I'm going to bring in some floor plans. So this is actually a PDF that has 4 pages. So each page will come in as its own floor. And one of these is actually not a useful floor. We'll trim that one out in just a little bit. So we could work from this, but I'm going to go the extra step here, and I want to add what's around the building, like sort of the outdoor stuff, so we can accurately place our cellular radio outside of the building and model what it's going to look like going in. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to Google Earth, and I found the building. There it is right there. And there's probably a better way to get data, like a good image out of Google Earth here. I didn't research it ahead of time, so I'm just going to grab a screenshot of the area really quickly. That is going to bite me in just a second. I'll show you why that matters in just a little bit. So there we go. There's our screenshot. We'll hit done so it saves there. So now the next thing that I want to do is I want to grab this imagery and I want to use it. I want to basically superimpose it on that outdoor image that we have. Now, instead of going to the source file, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. I'm actually just gonna hide all the layers, just get rid of everything. And I'm gonna zoom in nice and close on this. Let's see, come on, trackpad, there we go. Okay, zoom in nice and close like that. And then I'm gonna go and save the current view as image. So there we go, there's our image right there. Okay, so now I'm going to bring that image. Oh, of course, it's stuck in my really messy downloads folder. That's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that image in preview, and I'm going to hit Command A to put it on, to select it, and hit Command C to put it on my clipboard. And then I'm going to open up the aerial photography that we have, the Google Maps, Google Earth imagery, and I'm just going to paste it in here. Now it's way too big, so let's just shrink it down really quickly. And by the way, I'm just using preview for all of this. If you don't have a Mac, I'm sure there's something on Windows that does this. Okay, so problem 1. Notice that we have this space around the edge of the image that's not transparent. I want to fix that, so I'm going to delete this. I'm going to come back over here to my image, and I'm just going to use the select tool to select pieces of it and hit the delete key to delete it. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And one thing that you can't see that's happening is we're actually turning that into a transparent layer. It doesn't show that very well in preview, but there we go. So now we've got that all kind of like taken away. So now if I close that to save it and then I click on it and hit the space bar to open it up with Finder, you can see that there is transparency around this. And I could have probably trimmed that out a little bit better, but that should be good enough for the sake of example. So we'll open it back up, Command A, Command C. I'll go ahead and close it because I don't need it now. And then we'll come back in here and we'll zoom way out and then we'll resize it like this. We're going to do a lot of resizing in this video. This is not the last time we'll do some resizing like that. And I'm just going to line it up with our building on the map. I wonder, can you hold Option to make it scale from the center? Oh, you can. Fantastic. Okay, so I'll put it right there and then I'll hold Option and that'll scale it from the center. And I'm just going to line it up with the edges of the building. I'm looking at the actual edges of the, like where the concrete pillars are. There's this little stair section right there, so I probably should have that overlap to the outside. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, one thing about this building is the lower level is a bit smaller. It gets a little bit bigger the next level up. That's kind of why it looks a little bit smaller here, but that all looks really nice. Okay, so now that we have that ready to go, I want to show you one little mistake that we made. Remember when we took a screenshot of Google Earth? Well, the resolution of that map is not actually very good. And so then when we take our nice high resolution screenshot of our floor plan and we paste it here, it absolutely crushes the resolution of our map. So it's really, really bad resolution. So there's a variety of ways that we could fix that, but for the purpose of this video, I think it's fine, and maybe it's also kind of a good example of what can happen when you're doing this sort of image manipulation, and it's just stuff to think about. Okay, so now I'm going to add our outdoor imagery to our project. And are we uploading? Yes, we are. So there we go. There's our outdoor imagery. Now, one thing that I don't want to do is I'm not going to ask the AI and machine learning to try to draw walls on this. Instead, I'm going to go to my nice high resolution one, and I'm going to go to the walls and have it draw on this, and we should get a really nice result out of that. Let's also do our scope zone. Looks good. And then we did have the machine learning automatically set the scale, but I'm going to set a really, really precise scale because I'm going to copy these walls and I'm going to move them to our outdoor indoor combined image. So I'll set this to 60 meters and hit set scale. That looks really good. Now I'm going to go back to my outdoor imagery and we're going to do the exact same scale here. So finding the edge of the pillar there is a pillar there. I'm just really familiar with this floor plan. I demo with it all the time, so I know where it is. I can just barely see the pixels there. Yeah, handling the images properly and getting nice high resolution stuff would be advisable. I think that would be the way to go. So now let's go back to our indoor plan, which has all of our walls. And remember, we hid these earlier, so you can't see them anymore. So let's bring them all back really quickly. There we go. Now we've got them all back. I'm going to hit Command A to select everything and Command C to put it on my clipboard. We're going to come back to our outdoor, indoor combined stuff. And I'm going to hit Command V to paste it, but notice that it put everything way up here in the corner, right? And so now let's go ahead and bring it all down here. Notice I'm clicking and dragging on a wall segment, not a point. If you drag on a point, it'll just move that point. It won't move everything as a whole. So there we go. Now we've got it all lined up. And since we set those two scales, the scale's the same on the indoor image and the scale's the same on this indoor-outdoor combined image, then everything lines up really nicely. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of cleanup. I am going to go, excuse me, I'm going to go and delete my indoor map because we just don't need that anymore. And if I remember correctly, floor 3 is this like outdoor? Yeah, we don't need that one either, so I'm going to delete that one. So we'll get rid of that. And now I want to stack these up to form a building. So what I'm going to do is switch back down to our ground floor. Floor 1 is what I would call it, being an American. And we're going to go to the Align Floors tool. So now we'll say, here's floor 1, here's floor 2, here's floor 3. Let's take a second and clean up the names. So floor 1 and floor 2 and floor 3. There we go. So now we've got those named really nicely. So now we need to line these up. And if we select floor 2, there it is up there in the corner. Now I can just drag it over here. And by a little bit of dumb luck here, it actually ended up being the same, almost the same scale. Wow, actually really, really similar. I'm not really sure how I got that lucky. Last time I did this with this floor plan, it was way off. It was like massive compared to it. So it has something to do with the order that you've dragged the floors in. I haven't quite put my finger on what's going on there yet, but I can just barely see. Here's the pillar here, and there's a pillar right there. I know it's there. I can barely see it, but it is there. Again, that's a familiarity thing. I just know this floor plan. So I'm going to resize this until I can get this all to line up a little bit. This part is a little fidgety. This is one of the more fidgety things in Hamina. So there we go. That floor is good to go. Let's check out this one. Oh, there it is right there. Yep. So I'll just shrink it down, zoom in nice and close. Let's go find that pillar again in the corner. Line it up like that. That looks pretty good. Okay, it needs to be a little bit bigger than that. So we'll kind of boost it like that. Ooh, did I get it right? Like I said, most fidgety thing in Hamina these days is doing the floor alignment. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we've got floor 1, we've got floor 2, we've got floor 3. They're all stacked up properly. We still need walls everywhere. So let's add walls to floor 2. Let's add a scope zone to floor 2. Let's go to floor 3, add our scope zone. Go back to the walls tool, add our walls. And there we go. Now it's all stacked up, and we've got walls on every floor. So now let's go ahead and place a cellular radio out here. So I'm going to go stick it out here outside of the building. Let's change the type to 4G, 5G, and I'm going to do like an airspan 1500, and I'm going to point it so it's pointing towards the building. Now notice that we're not showing you coverage outside of the building. That's because of the scope zone that we set earlier. So I'm going to remove the scope zone just to make things a little bit more clear. So I'm going to hit Command A to select everything. I'm going to click on scope zones, and I'm just going to hit the delete key to get rid of it. So there we go. Now we can see everything. But notice that there's a bunch of buildings and things out here. You absolutely could represent these with like maybe attenuating objects or something like that. So we go to attenuating objects and say that there's like a, maybe there's a 1-floor building right here. And then now, it's going to get included in, it's going to get included in our propagation models. That's Wi-Fi, back to 4G, 5G. So yeah, now you can see that it's all included in the model there. So you could do that, but I'm just going to leave everything else alone. We're just going to pretend that it's all basically, free space. So now if we go up to floor 2, we've actually got a little bit of a problem. Notice that we actually don't have very good coverage getting inside of the building here. And if we go back down to floor 1 and we look at our E node B here, it's at 1 meter off the ground. But you would think that, cellular, you should see some RF, especially along the windows. It should be way better than like minus 91, minus 100 dBm, right? Well, the reason for that is that around the building, there is this 0.5 meter thick slab that floor rests on. And the slab extends to the entire extent of the map image. So you can see that slab is all over the place here. So to fix that, we are going to use a tool that's very similar. It's tied in with the floor holes tool. That's the tool that allows you to cut a hole in the floor. We're going to use the building edge tool to mark where the edges of the building are and to keep that slab from extending beyond the extents of the building. So I'll grab that building edge tool, and I'm just going to click and drag like this to make a rectangle and let go, and it will automatically choose between a hole in the floor and a building edge. And notice that now we've actually got good propagation. If we look at it in 3D, you can actually see that the slab no longer extends past the edges of the building. So then if we go back down to the first floor, ground floor, and we move this access point up, let's go up to like 4 meters. Notice that now it propagates down through the slab is no longer there, so it propagates down and through properly. In fact, to drive the point home, I'm actually going to let's go remove our building edge really quickly. So I'm going to click on the floor holes and hit delete. Okay, so now we no longer have that. Now notice that I put that AP, I put that radio, it is at 4 meters high. But if we go look at our Align Floors tool, the first floor is only 2.5 meters high plus a 0.5 meter floor slab between the floors, right? So logically, this AP is on the first floor. Physically, it's on the second floor. And you can actually see that slab is now affecting things. In fact, let's just push it even higher. Let's go to like 8 meters. You can see that slab is actually attenuating things, right? So we go up to the second floor, and now we reapply our building edge to get rid of that slab, like this, okay? Now we go back down to floor 1. Now we get proper propagation through here. So, big thing to remember here. This radio is logically on floor 1, but because of its height at 8 meters, it is physically right at the top of, maybe even slightly above floor 2. It might even be pushed up to floor 3. So let's finish modeling out our building. We'll go to floor 3. Again, we have a slab everywhere. So let's go ahead and get rid of that by grabbing our building edge or floor holes tool. We'll select the whole thing like this. And by the way, there's actually a void. There's a hole in the floor right here. Let's mark this one as well. And Hamina should automatically, it automatically chose cut a hole in the floor. So it'll choose which one for you. By the way, if it gets it wrong and you need to switch it, grab the edit tool, click on the edge of the area to select it, and then right click on the edge. And now you can toggle between those two manually if you need to. And if we look at this in 3D, you can see the slab has been cut away around the edges. The slab has also been cut away in the middle, and that looks really great. Okay, so now let's go back and just look through this one more time. There's one more thing I want to point out. AP is, or the cellular radio in this case, is logically located on the first floor. It is physically located on the second floor, so we get propagation here, we get propagation down here on the first floor. If we go up to the third floor, though, no propagation. Why is that? Well, this is a bit of an efficiency thing in Hamina. If you're doing especially like Wi-Fi planning for like a high-rise building or something like that, we typically don't see a meaningful amount of RF getting through more than one floor. So we typically model +1 current and -1 floors of RF. Since Our radio is all the way down on floor 1. We're not even trying to include it in the model here, but we probably need to, because cellular, it is going to get up here. And remember, it is physically located on the second or maybe even up at the third floor at this point. We've pushed it up so high. So to fix that, I'm going to go into the global settings and I'm going to turn on full building propagation. That is going to model the RF going to every floor. So we turn off that plus minus 1 floor thing and we just model everything. And it's a little bit more, of course, it's way more CPU intensive, but in this case, we need it. So now there's our coverage on floor 3. There's our coverage on floor 2. There's our coverage down here on floor 1. So I hope that helps, especially with the building edges and modeling that sort of outdoor to indoor coverage scenario. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out at support@hamina.com. Thanks for hanging out with me in this video, and I hope to see you in a Hamina video really soon. Bye now.